It's been well over a few decades since we got a proper hot hatch from Toyota with a rally car style all-wheel drive system. And with the market super competitive for hot hatches, it seemed like the perfect opportunity for Toyota to introduce its most powerful Corolla ever. This right here is the 2023 GR Corolla, the first ever Gazoo racing version, and with a 300 horsepower turbocharged inline 3 under the hood, a standard 6-speed manual, and a rally car style all-wheel drive system, the first one the company has developed in well over 20 years. It has all the makings to be the perfect hot hatch. So today I'm actually out here at Utah Motorsport campus, and the big question I went answered, was that decade-long wait for a hot hatch from Toyota worth it? Stay tuned to find out. Hey guys, I want to interrupt this video to give a brief shout out to the sponsor of this review, Keeps. Now, what exactly is Keeps? Well, they're an online subscription service that provides doctor-recommended hair loss treatment plans. Because they are online, they offer 24/7 support and proven results. I should know because I've been using Keeps for a few years now, and let me tell you, the best thing about Keeps is the fact that it's so easy to fit into my daily life. Every morning I take a pill, a very small pill, and then once in the morning and once at night, I use this mousse in my hair, and like I said earlier, it's just super easy to fit into my life, so I don't even have to think about it. So what are you waiting for, guys? Hair loss stops now with Keeps, and to save up to 50% off of your first order, be sure to go to www.keeps/redline, where you can save up to 50%, or you can also just simply click in the link in the description below. And now, let's get back to the video. So a few years ago when Toyota introduced the all-new Corolla hatchback, it really surprised a lot of people because it had the styling that had the makings of a proper hot hatch. And a lot of us were simply begging and hoping for Toyota to do it. So I'm really happy to be showing you guys the first ever GR Corolla. Now this car comes from basically the similar bones as the GR Yaris. Remember, the GR Yaris is something that's not available here in the US. It rides on a modified version of the Global Architectural C platform, so the Global Architectural Compact platform. However, Toyota has seriously strengthened this car's rigidity, the torsional rigidity, to give us better handling, to give us basically a hot hatch that feels like it can attack a track and a daily road or a regular road. And this particular one here that I'm showing you is the Moruzo edition. It's the pinnacle of the GR family. They're going to offer it in the Core, the Circuit edition, which we'll show you guys a little bit of walk around on that trim as well. And then of course the Moruzo edition. The front end of the new GR Corolla, you can see, has a styling here that's very aggressive. You can see the grille of this vehicle is very boldly presented at the front with a lot of functional grille openings here. This particular one that I'm showing you is painted in an exclusive color called Smoke. It's a matte finish. It's about $1,700 extra, and it definitely gives this car a menacing look to it. You have full LED headlights, which are standard on all GR Corollas. It includes the LED daytime running light, LED turn signals, LED low and high beams, and then all the GR Corollas will have these really nicely integrated LED fog lights, and then some functional vent openings here. The Moruzo and the Circuit edition also have a unique hood with the black accents here for the functional heat extractors, because remember, this is a 300 horsepower hot hatch, which we'll show you guys under the hood of another trim later on in the video. But overall, you can really see how low, wide, and just menacing this car looks from every angle, but especially from the front. Now looking at the side profile, you can see this is built off of the 4-door hatchback. There is no sedan version of the GR Corolla for now. I kind of think that they're probably going to leave it as a hatch. And it has the same 103.9 inch long wheelbase. It's around 174 inches long. So this is a small vehicle. It's several inches smaller versus something like the previous generation Civic Type R. I also think it's a couple inches shorter than something like the Volkswagen Golf R, its main competitor, and this is a lot shorter than the Subaru WRX. Remember, the WRX is a sedan. This is a nice hot hatch. Now, in terms of the wheels, the Moruzo edition comes with these unique 10-spoke satin black finish wheels. You can see they cover up these 14-inch rotors, which have a red painted GR 4-piston fixed caliper. All GRs come with the 14-inch slotted rotors. However, on the Core model, the caliper actually will be non-painted. You can add that back in if you add a performance package, which is around $1,100 extra. You can see the Moruzo edition also includes fatter tires. These are 245 width tire by 40 aspect ratio on an 18-inch wheel. This is actually a Michelin Pilot Sport Cup 2 tire. So this is a serious track tire, which is why this is the one you're gonna want if you actually plan to go racing with the GR Corolla very often. All the other ones will have a Michelin Pilot Sport 4S tire, which is still a really great summer tire option. Now in terms of the suspension, all GR Corollas have a four-wheel independent. It's got strut design in the front, multi-link at the back. It's got its own unique circuit-tuned dampers on the Morizo edition. So this is gonna be stiffer. It's gonna be a little bit, probably a little more uncomfortable for on-road use, but we'll talk about that when we get this vehicle out on the road. And then you can see, just like the circuit edition that we showed you a few months ago, you'll have this forged carbon fiber roof. This is gonna help lower the center of gravity and strengthen the overall rigidity of the structure. Unfortunately, Toyota is not gonna offer a sunroof on this vehicle, but remember the circuit and the Morizo edition is gonna come with the forged roof. The Core is gonna have just a body colored roof. You can see all the mirrors are gonna be black painted with this integrated turn signal mirror. And then this model here, because it's the Morizo edition, actually removes the back seats and it also removes the rear window regulator. So this rear window doesn't actually go up and down, which is surprising, but it's gonna help save about 100 pounds of weight versus something like the Circuit Edition trim. Now I want to point out that this one here is a very early pre-production model. So when you look at the rear of the vehicle, there's really no indication to tell you that this is the Morizo Edition. There's no badging other than just the GR Corolla badge here. And then the spoiler, you can see the Circuit and the Morizo is supposed to have a big wing style spoiler. This is the same one that you get on the Core, which I think is a little too plain. I would like to see the bigger wing on this car, especially when you guys go for those higher trims. This early pre-production model doesn't have that bigger wing. They also removed the rear wiper on the Morizo edition. Remember, they're trying to save 100 pounds of weight, so they kind of took it out almost everywhere around this vehicle where they felt you're not gonna miss it. Now in terms of the rear taillights, you can see they're kind of blacked out a little bit. They're a full LED design with LED turn signals. And then down here at the rear diffuser, you have a far more aggressive rear bumper design versus the base Corolla. And then it has the signature triple outlet exhaust. Toyota says it's kind of an active exhaust with a valve that opens up and closes at certain speeds and when you're driving the vehicle. Let's go ahead and fire it up so you can hear what the engine sounds like. Bass heavy. So the engine definitely sounds good, not quite as good as something like the Elantra N, but it also has a pretty mean sound. Now this one here is locked, so I can't show you guys the cargo area for this particular one, but let's go ahead and swap to a different Corolla and I can show you guys what's powering this vehicle. Now, as the most powerful production Corolla ever, let's go ahead and finally talk about what's underneath the hood of the GR Corolla. Now, if you guys are familiar with the GR Yaris and other parts of the world, this is essentially a modified version of that powertrain. It's a 1.6 liter turbocharged direct injection 3-cylinder engine. That's right, this baby has 3 cylinders and it's stuffed with up to 26 pounds of boost. Now that 26.3 pounds of boost is actually on the Morizo edition that we showed you. This one here, the Core, actually has 25.2 pounds of boost. That's a lot of boost pressure for this little 1.6 liter 3-cylinder engine. And the numbers are impressive. 300 horsepower. That's around 185 horsepower per liter if you guys are going to do math. This one here has around 273 pound-feet of torque. The Morizo edition has 295 pound-feet of torque from the additional boost pressure that it gets. It all goes out through a one-choice only 6-speed manual transmission. That's right, you cannot get this with an automatic transmission, and you have to thank Toyota for saving the manuals. Now, fuel economy, that was also just announced at 21 in the city and 28 on the highway. Those numbers, around 24 combined. Premium gas, of course, you need to make sure you feed it the good stuff because this is a high-performance engine. And this vehicle comes standard with the company's first ever sports all-wheel drive system. They call it GR4 all-wheel drive, which means it can do several torque splits. It can do a 30-70 rear drive bias torque split. It can do a 60-40 front drive torque split, or when you put it into track mode, it can do a 50-50 torque split, which Toyota believes is going to give you the best lap times. This one here, the Core, has the performance package, which means it also has front and rear torsion limited slip differentials. That's going to help you get the power to the pavement. It's also going to help you do burnouts in this thing. That's right, the Corolla, the GR Corolla, will actually do drifts if you guys put it in that 30-70 torque split. Now, as this vehicle sits, they obviously had to make it heavier versus the GR Yaris because this is a bigger vehicle. But this particular one here weighs around 3,200 pounds. If you go for the Murzo edition, that'll come in at around 3,100 pounds. Toyota says the performance is pretty impressive. 0 to 60 in 4.9 seconds, 4.99 for this one, 4.91 for the Murzo, and it has a top speed of around 143 miles an hour. That's actually kind of low. I was expecting this car to be around 155 at least, so I'll have to ask Toyota and figure out why the top speed isn't at least at that 150 mark. But let's go ahead and close up the hood of this vehicle and show you guys some of the styling differences on the Core version versus the Murzo we showed you earlier. Now you can see the Core has a slightly less aggressive front fascia. This is the one that's going to go on sale first. You can see instead of the gloss black on this big grille, it has a matte black look. It's got the same full LED headlights with LED daytime running lights and turn signals. You can see we have them on this time. You also have the same LED fog lights, and then a lot of the vents on this vehicle are functional. The one thing you're going to notice is the front splitter isn't quite as aggressive, and you don't have those functional heat extractors with the gloss black accents on the hood. So this definitely is more of the sleeper Corolla. For those of you who prefer that, you're going to want to go for this particular trim. Now this one here has the performance package, so I'll mention some of the goodies that it also has. The wheels are different versus the Murzo edition. You can see they're a 15-spoke gloss black wheel. You have the same 14-inch rotor, which is slotted, and then the performance package throws in the red painted caliper. It's a 4-piston fixed caliper with the red GR paint with the GR script on it. Really nice brakes, and then you have Michelin Pilot Sport 4 tires. These are 235 40s instead of the 245 40s that you get on the Murzo edition. You have this gloss black painted mirror, and then you can see no forged carbon fiber roof, which again would help with the structural rigidity. No sunroof is available, sadly, but just like the other GRs, a lot of the body kit has been tweaked in this vehicle to give it a wider stance. I believe it's a couple inches wider versus the standard Corolla. I'll have to double check that number later on, but you can see back here, this is where the Core model also looks a little bit more plain Jane for me. This is the correct spoiler on it. You can get a bigger spoiler if you guys go for the Circuit or the Murzo edition. Unlike the Murzo, you can see it has an actual rear window wiper, and then it also has these full LED taillights. And then now that we come to the exhaust, you can see it's pretty much the same as the Murzo edition, along with the GR Corolla badge here. So there's no badging to show which trim level this car is. Opening up the trunk, you can see the cargo capacity is pretty much the same as the regular Corolla hatchback. You have around 17 cubic feet of space back here. And if you fold them down, I believe it expands it out to around 35 cubic feet. And then if you look underneath here, looks like no spare tire. You have a fix-a-flat kit, and the 12-volt battery is actually located at the back. So now it's finally time to talk about the interior of the all-new GR Corolla. As you can see, I've switched to this Circuit Edition, which also has the forged carbon fiber roof. However, the interior of the Circuit Edition is probably the one that most of you as an enthusiast is going to want, because unlike the Core trim, which has cloth seats, this model here has a combination of a faux Alcantara with a leatherette interior with the red stitching. It still has the GR embossed in the actual head restraint. And these seats, as you can see, are just a lot more aggressively bolstered versus a standard Corolla. Although I will say my 5'7" frame fits in here really nicely. It could be a little bit more aggressively bolstered, but this is probably going to suit more body types because Toyota made it a little bit less restricting. Now getting inside, it has a really low step-in height because you have around 5 inches of ground clearance, and then when you shut the door, I must admit the door has somewhat of a tinny sound. This is built on the Global Architectural C platform, which it shares with the regular Corolla, but it also has far more strengthening, so it sounds a little bit nicer. Now here's the key fob for the vehicle. You can see it just has your standard 3 buttons, lock and unlock, and then panic. There's no remote trunk release because this is not a power liftgate. And then on the back, it actually does say GR. It's kind of covered up with tape right now, but all Corollas or GR Corollas come standard with the intelligent key. The start-stop button is over here. There's the shifter. And you can hear it has a really deep exhaust noise when this vehicle starts up. It sounds honestly very nice. Now looking at the rest of this cabin, you can see it's pretty much the standard Corolla stuff here. You have an 8-inch touchscreen over there in the center. You have the same kind of soft touch materials with the faux stitching on the lower portion and on the upper portion. A lot of piano black accented trim. The soft touch continues over the instrument panel hood, and then on the door panel here, it is also soft touch. I was in a Core trim earlier, and that has hard touch plastic materials on the front doors, so keep that in mind. The Circuit Edition includes a nicer cabin, which some of you are definitely going to prefer. The windows are one-touch automatic up and down for all 4. Keep in mind, again, if you guys go for the Murzo Edition, the rear windows have the rear regulator removed. That helps, again, reduce the weight. The steering wheel you can see is unique to the GR Corolla. I kind of wish it had a flat bottom design, but it's got the same red stitching. The core also has this same steering wheel with all these buttons on the control or on the steering wheel itself. Buttons for your audio control for the Toyota Safety Sense 3.0, which is standard on every GR Corolla, which means this has automatic emergency braking, it has lane trace assist, lane keep assist, and adaptive cruise control, which is nice. The steering wheel itself tilts and telescopes, and then these seats are a 6-way manual adjustable. So I can basically go forward and back. I can raise the seat up and down, and then I can also recline it. But if you're looking for power seats with memory, the GR Corolla does not offer it. The Circuit Edition does come standard with 2-level heated seats, which you can get as part of a tech package when you guys go for the core trim. The one thing I want to talk about, however, is the horn. Sounds really puny. So I imagine a lot of you out there are going to probably replace that horn with something that sounds a little bit more mean and aggressive. And then over on the instrument panel, you can see there's a unique 12-inch display here. There's a 12.3-inch fully digital display, which just looks really modern. It looks great. It's got a turbo boost gauge. You can see there's the standard tachometer with a torque display here to show where the torque is going on your all-wheel drive system. You can also switch the drive mode here between 4 of them. There's Eco, Normal, and Sport, and then Custom. You can see going to Sport, it moves the tachometer to be more like a race car style tach, and then there's also a separate drive mode selector here for the GR4 all-wheel drive system. So now you can go between either a front torque split, which is 60/40, it shows it right there in the display. Push the center, it goes to track, which is perfect 50/50, and then twist it to the right, it goes to a more rear drive bias, 30% front, 70% rear. We'll talk about that later on during the driving scene. Over here on the rest of the center console, you can see there's a drive mode selector, the 6-speed manual. This one here has the Circuit Edition specific shifter, where it's leather. It has the Morozu signed shifter. There's also a different finish if you guys go for the Morozu Edition. There's also a wireless phone charging pad, which is nice. The shifter itself has really nice throws. I love the throws of the shifter. Feels good. Reverse is accessed by pulling up on that ring. Going to reverse, you can see there's your backup camera. It has no parking sensors or trajectory, so it's kind of a rudimentary, more basic backup camera. The clutch is also a little on the heavier side. The travel is pretty much, I'd say, average, but overall it feels pretty good. We'll talk about that again as we go into the driving scene. The infotainment display here I want to mention is also the 8-inch Toyota Audio Multimedia interface. So this is the new system. The screen is a little bit small. You can see there's a lot of unused real estate here that Toyota could have utilized and made this like a 9 or a 10-inch display. That would have been nice, but at least it has their newest audio system where it has over-the-air updates, wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. It's just a lot snappier and more responsive. There's a volume knob there, but that's the only kind of button. Everything else is buried into the screen, where you can see you also can get factory GPS in this car, which is pretty nice. The small screen is kind of the only sour point, but at least it has the newer system, the newer software. Now down here you can see you have a traditional hand parking brake, which is nice for those of you who want to do those J-turns. Cup holders over here. Surprised to see there's no armrest here. I think Toyota should have included an armrest. There is like a little area here where you can put stuff, but again, no covered storage, which would be nice. The seats are also comfortable, like I mentioned, and above me you can see lots of headroom because Toyota does not offer a sunroof. And then there's also LED map lighting, which is definitely a lot more modern, but no ambient lighting. Let me go ahead and hop into the back seat though and show you guys the space back here. Now, if you're trying to sell this to your spouse, I am going to regret to inform you that the back seat's a little bit tight. You can see getting back here, Toyota says there's around 29.9 inches of legroom. That's probably 5 inches less than most of the competition, but I'm 5'7". This is where I would have the front seat to drive. You can see decent legroom for me. There's good underfloor storage. There's also a hump here. This is for, again, the all-wheel drive system. And then the Circuit Edition gives you 2 storage pockets. The Core I was in earlier didn't have any storage pockets, no rear seat air vents, but you do have a power outlet, just one, and then you also have a regular 12-volt, which is nice. I also am surprised to see there is an armrest that folds down, gives you 2 cup holders, and the vehicle is still relatively narrow, so if you want to fit 3 across, it's a little bit tight, but for those of you who have smaller children or smaller friends, you can use the back seat for the occasional road trip. The materials, however, back here are hard touch plastic, so it is a downgrade versus the material or the door panel materials in the front. So typically I start the driving scene out on a street drive, but Toyota really wanted to get us out here on the track in the GR Corolla. So we're starting out this driving portion in the Circuit Edition. This one here is painted in gray. The Circuit Edition has the leatherette seats that are nicely aggressively bolstered, but they also aren't too aggressively bolstered, so that's kind of nice. So somebody of a wider stature or wider frame should be able to fit. But I'm starting the vehicle out driving in track mode. Stability control is in the sport setting and its traction control is off. So I'm gonna take it easy. I'm not gonna push it too hard. I really just wanna talk about what this vehicle feels like, because this is my first time, legit, genuine first time driving this car. And I have to say, if you guys consider the Corolla to be just a mundane, boring transportation appliance, the GR Corolla is gonna change a lot of that for you. I mean, everything has been upgraded in this car, from the suspension to the chassis, the engine, the shifter, and it feels like a properly built hot hatch. When I have it in track mode right now, the GR4 all-wheel drive system is appropriating the power 50-50, and the suspension is nice and firm. And listen to that engine. It definitely has a ton of mid-range power. Doesn't feel quite as revvy as I thought it would, surprisingly. But the tires, these are the Michelin Pilot Sport 4 tires. They have tons of grip. And just revving the engine out sounds good. Could be louder though. Brakes feel also pretty strong. The turn-in is crisp and sharp. Never thought that I would be doing this in a Corolla, so this is a wonderful feeling. The seats, I have to say, I wish they held me in place a little bit more. Maybe I'm just too skinny. I can pretty much leave it in third for the entire portion of this track. But wow, this is incredible. This feels like a proper hot hatch. Got up to almost 90 there, but we'll hit the brakes here. The brake pedal feel is also great. The steering could use a little more heft to it, but the turn-in is just so sharp. So that's nice. I mean, I'm not really hearing any tire slippage, and the traction control is off. I can feel the back starting to rotate a tad, but very controllable. Overall, my first run out on the track in this model, amazingly positive impressions. I mean, compared to something like the Civic Type R, the previous gen that I drove, the steering doesn't feel quite as sharp, but the chassis feels like it can do this all day long. So bravo, Toyota. I'm excited to get this thing out on the regular road and see what it's like on normal driving. So Rob and I just got off the track with the GR Corolla. We were both, I believe, in circuit trims. Now, for the road portion, Toyota is not allowing us to go on the actual public roads, but they did set up this track around the perimeter of the actual race track. And the first thing I do want to test out is 0 to 60. Toyota says around 4.99 seconds for this core trim. We are at around 4,000 feet above sea level, so that's going to obviously slow down the 0 to 60. But let's go ahead and see what we can get. We're gonna rev it up and do somewhat of an aggressive launch, and I have the torque split in 30-70 right now, and the traction control is off. Feels good. Ooh, 7.3 seconds? That's certainly a lot slower than what Toyota claims. Now, I will say that that was also going slightly uphill. And I really want to see if I can try it again. But keep in mind, we are at almost a mile above sea level. So that is going to significantly slow down the 0 to 60 time, because the engine is gasping for air, kind of like how you and I would gasp for air. But you know what? Let's go ahead and see what we get down this straight here. This actually looks like a little bit of a longer straight. All right, let's try run 2. Still in 30-70 torque split. That was better. .11 seconds.
Not that fat?
No, Rob.
I haven't even ate lunch yet.
The engine is just struggling for air, just like you and I would. But you know what? I'm shocked at how well this thing launches, actually. Because remember, it's 4-wheel drive. You guys heard I dumped the clutch at around $5,000 there, which I don't recommend if this is your own car. But you know what? It actually handled it really well. And you actually heard the tires did a little bit of a burnout, which I thought was actually kind of funny. But I mean, at a mile above sea level, we'll have to wait until we get this car back in our home turf to retest it, because obviously we can't take 7.1 seconds. I'll let you open your window.
It has 4-wheel drive, but I don't think we're supposed to be going that far off the road.
I dare you. I double dog dare you to do some burnouts out in the rocks.
Don't tell me that. I'll do it.
No. Rob will do it, but I won't.
Hey guys, do a drag race. Okay.
Oh,
Let's do a
God.
drag race.
Do a drag race. An
I want
impromptu drag race.
I want to drive.
All right.
Let me try it.
All right.
What?
You want to go to 60?
You want to drive?
Sure, we'll go to 60.
I'll get out. So the fatness
I
is
think we're definitely off the reservation at this one.
Hold on, I gotta reposition. I gotta reposition, hold on. Hopefully Toyota doesn't get mad at us for this.
I'm going to put you back. You start it. Rob, okay?
All right, so next to me is Tommy from TFL. We're gonna do an impromptu drag race. God, it really doesn't like third when you crunch into third, so he's like, woo! Are you having trouble getting into third, Tommy? I don't know what is wrong with this one here, but it does not like shifting into third. I've crunched third like twice. It's like I will say that the engine has a revvy character, but I feel like it should rev a little faster. But God, you gotta love the steering in this car. It is very, very quick, sharp, and direct. But this shifter does not like being rushed into third gear. Or either that or I'm just a terrible shifter.
Oh, you going to come out?
Yes.
So what happened, Sophie?
I crunched third,
Yeah?
and that's like honestly this one. I think there's something wrong with it. It doesn't like being shifted into third in a hurry. Or
Dude, I'm going to go with that. It was on the track, and you know, one of those road and track or motor trend guys got a hold of it. You know how they are.
yeah, I mean, I literally was trying my hardest to like not crunch third, and it crunched third, and I'm just like, there goes Tommy. I'm like, damn, that sucks. Tommy, you won. Huh? All right, so impromptu drag races are always fun, but let's go ahead and finish up some of my thoughts on the GR Corolla. I will say that these models that we're driving here are very early pre-production models. The shifter on this one is a little bit temperamental, I'll just go with that. But it is a nice shifter. It slides into first and second pretty easily, but third, if you hurry it, it doesn't like that. I think the steering feels really good on this car. I think the suspension is really nicely tuned. I'm actually shocked because the ride quality isn't as bad as I thought it was gonna be. I just love how sharp the steering is, how fast it is, how the suspension doesn't really lean either. It just feels really good out here. And I look forward to driving this car out on the road, on the actual road, as opposed to this like twisty slalom course that Toyota has set up outside the track. But overall, I do think the seats need to hug you a little bit more, but I guess this is kind of good if you're of a wider frame. But as a hot hatch, Toyota seems to have nailed the formula here. I just look forward to spending a little more time with this car and seeing what it's like to live with on a daily basis. So after spending the day driving the all-new GR Corolla, I have to admit, I have been waiting to drive this car all year since Toyota first unveiled it back in March, I believe, in California. And I have to say, this vehicle here embodies basically a hot hatch that enthusiasts have been asking for. We have an amazing turbocharged 300 horsepower, 3-cylinder under the hood. We have a slick shifting manual. We have a really amazing 4-wheel drive system as well. I love how Toyota offers that kind of customization. And what I think this car is going to do for the marketplace, this is going to take the place of the Subaru WRX STI, because you know Subaru never offered a hatchback version of the WRX STI for years. This model essentially takes that place, and it's going to give enthusiasts another choice out there, because remember, with vehicles like the Ford Focus RS gone for the last couple of years, your only choice has really been the Volkswagen Golf R if you wanted an all-wheel drive hot hatch. Now, of course, there is a new Civic Type R, which we haven't driven yet as of this video. We should be driving it toward the end of the year, but that car, as you guys know, is still front-wheel drive. There's also the Hyundai Elantra N, which the Velostran was just discontinued. The Hyundai is also a good choice, but again, it's technically a step down this vehicle in terms of performance because of the fact Toyota offers all-wheel drive and because it has 300 horsepower. That's kind of the magic number here. Now, of course, you guys are probably dying to know the big $1 million question, and what is this GR Corolla gonna cost? Well, I'm happy to report that Toyota has final pricing. This core model is going to be in dealerships toward the end of the year. We're gonna say fall, maybe October, November. It's gonna start at $35,900. That's right, under $36,000 for this core trim. That's before the $1,095 destination charge, so it's really around $37,000. Let's put that price into perspective. A Hyundai Elantra N is around $33,000. This car is easily worth the extra $4,000 over the Elantra N. A Subaru WRX is around $30,000, although you're going to be spending around $35,000 for a limited. This also makes this car a very enticing proposition. And then of course, we don't know the pricing of the new Civic Type R yet. I'm going to estimate that's going to be just under $40,000. This particular core model here with the performance package, with the technology package, with destination is around $41,000. If you guys want to go to the circuit trim gives you everything that I mentioned with those option packages, plus the carbon fiber roof and the Alcantara fake leather seats, which I think is also a nice upgrade, is around $42,900. The Morizo edition is the most expensive Corolla that you're ever gonna see. It's almost $50,000. It's $49,900 plus destination, you're over 50 grand. That's right, we live in a world where you can spend over 50 grand on a Corolla. That's just kind of the world we live in. Don't forget about dealer markups. I'm expecting dealers to also mark this up because Toyota says the Morizo edition, there's only gonna be 200 of them built for the US in 2023, which again is going to drive the price up in terms of the fact that Toyota is asking $50,000 and dealers are going to be asking extra charge. Now, personally, I would probably go for the core trim and just add those option packages, but I do like the leather seats that you get, or the Alcantara leather on the circuit, along with the forged carbon fiber roof. For like 42 grand, I think this car is worth every penny. And really, for those of you who are in the market, the biggest challenge is just going to be getting a hold of these, because Toyota did not tell us how many they're going to build, but they did say they want this car to be an exclusive car, to be something that's coveted. And I think after driving the GR Corolla, they've pretty much accomplished that mission. But with all that said, hope you guys have enjoyed my full overview on the brand new 2023 Toyota GR Corolla. If you're also looking to see the latest cars I'm testing, be sure to follow me on Instagram at redline_reviews, like us on Facebook, and as always guys, please keep subscribing to the Redline Reviews YouTube channel for all the latest reviews. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you all in the next video.